that. I love that. I love that. I love that. Because I see the good in all that. Doesn't mean it's all for me. So my challenge, my effort right now is to focus what exactly do I want to really focus on, and just bring out in me, and maybe that will change. It doesn't mean you have to stay in a lane your whole life, but trying something out that sometimes it's the thing you fear the most that is what you should do.
Yeah. Or that you may succeed at the best, you know. I mean, I've had a lot of practice with advocacy because of my daughter Rebecca. I have a 24-year-old with Down syndrome, very high functioning, amazing daughter, and you know, I accept kudos for that. And people have told me over the years, it's because of you, Elaine. It's because of the parenting, and because of, you know, and it is, you know. And I don't say that in a selfish way or in a conceited way, but I mean, I care that much about her, and I advocate. And then I realized, gosh, Elaine, you know, you advocate so strongly for Rebecca. You've crossed all these hurdles for Rebecca. Now we need to kind of turn that around, and you know, I have time in my life now. I've been very busy, you know, putting the focus on Rebecca. She's 24 and in a residential program for learning to be a young adult and live independently. And I was busy taking care of my mother, you know, who was a friend, and really just busy enjoying her, quite honestly, till the end of her life. And now I'm an empty nester, and it's like, okay, let's just turn that right around. And, you know, I need to advocate for myself and put the focus on myself and catapult myself into the next thing that I want, you know, hopefully without fear or pushing through the fear like we know intellectually. But sometimes you just have to move from the brake pedal to the gas, right?
Yeah.
And go.
I think that we can, this is something I've been really thinking about too with my Easter talk coming up. We can either focus on fear or faith, and we get to decide moment to moment which one do we believe in as a faith-based person. And so I've been really thinking about that a lot lately. Like, am I going to let my fears determine what I'm doing and what's going on, or am I going to let my faith determine? And it's interesting, and you have to take the action, right? You cannot 100%. Just think about stuff. Like, you have to take the action. And we were talking about like starting this show, and I have literally made so many crappy videos. Everyone wants to start big. Everyone wants to be polished. Everyone wants to have it all go well. And literally, I have had so many crappy interviews. One time on the thing where it's supposed to be a women talking about scripture, nobody else would speak up. And it was my second time doing it, right? And the first one went well. I think this is how God gets us sometimes. So the first one went pretty good, right? The second one was like hideous. Like nobody else would talk. I even typed in the chat, hey, if you don't want to, you know, they wouldn't turn their cameras on. And I'm like, hey, just put your questions in the chat or your comments and I can read them, right? And I don't know why I didn't think. I was so nervous that I didn't, because I talked for 32 minutes, I think it was, about the subject matter. But I said everything I had to say on it. So I tried to get them to talk, but my show's supposed to be an hour. So I was like, I just kept talking instead of thinking we should end the show. I don't know what I talked about. But one time I watched it, I was just like, oh my gosh, Coley, why didn't you just end the show early? Like, oh my gosh. But we have to go through these awful shows. Because this is what Pace was saying in my interview with him, is that when you start out something, you're self-conscious, you're conscientious, you're like, it takes a lot of guts to reach out to people and ask them to be on your show, and you have to just, and then getting the shows out there and then building a following, and it's just
it's like you're watching yourself too. As
yes.
if you were filming a movie or something, and you're up at the ceiling watching yourself instead of. And when you're comfortable with it, and when you're just actually doing it naturally, it's just so much more enjoyable. And that whole like watching yourself and self-critique and self-analysis just disappears.
Yeah,
you're
you
not
don't
even
even see
concerned.
it. Yeah,
not even concerned.
It's so funny is because I was at a thing. With the day before Pace Month, my day with Pace, and he had a video guide there, and you could make 3 videos with him. And I wrote down what my 3 videos were going to be. I need to send that link to John, find the link, and have John pull those up. I nailed all 3 videos on the first take, right? And the guy in front of me, because we're in line, and the guy in front of me, I think he took, I don't know, 12, 15 takes, and he still didn't finish his video, right? And I just gave him a hug. And he said, I think I'm going to go eat something. But that guy was me like 2 years before. For real. Like I couldn't even I remember making a video with Ellie and my publisher, our publisher of our book. She's one of my best friends now. Which, what a blessing, right? This is what is so cool. But what's so funny is I was at her house at a writer's workshop or a speaker's workshop. I can't remember. But, and this lady that's awesome, she's Tony Robbins' photographer, was there. And we're talking about real estate. I've been in real estate for 20 years. Like I can tell you, that's something I know about. Mm-hmm. I just kept staring at the camera. I couldn't even think. I couldn't answer the questions. It was just horrible, right? Like it was unnatural. It was uncomfortable. I was like in my head. Like it is crazy. That guy, but since I've been doing this, right? And now I don't see the camera. I don't see the mic. I just talk to people. I used to have all these notes, right? And there is only one way to get good. Just like everyone wants to host a coaching thing or a group thing or a workshop or a retreat. Like I've done some retreats, and nobody wants 1 or 2 or 3 people to show up. They all want to have the hundreds of people there, but you have to show up to the 1, 2, and 3s to get bigger. If you want to get bigger. And my thing is, I don't even need to be big. I just really want my grandkids and anyone else who comes across my show to know that I believe in them. I'm cheering them on, and that this lady who didn't even know how to turn on a computer 3 years ago, now we're about 5 years now, I think, is doing this and now actually liking it, right? So I think God sees a bigger vision for ourselves. I think we forget we're divine daughters and sons of God, and that with Him, anything is possible. And I think we lose sight of the fact of our divine potential and our divine identity. And I think the adversary tries to keep us small and living small and not let our lights shine. And I think that when we start getting comfortable, trusting in God more, because there's a difference. This is another thing I've been really thinking about. God loves everyone, okay? God loves everyone. But does He trust you to do the things He asks you to do? And that's a different relationship with God. Can He count on you that if somebody over here needs help, and you live in proximity to this person, does He know He could say, hey, I need you to go knock on this door and bring them a meal, or they need a coat, or they need some shoes, or they need $5,000, or whatever it is that God says, hey, there's a need over here. Could God count on you to be the one that He gives the message and then you follow through and go through the uncomfortable action to insert yourself into that situation? And so there's a different kind of relationship that we can have. It's like, when I go, if I come to somebody's house and I don't know them well, and I stand on the porch and they stand at their door and they don't open their door and they don't invite me in, it's a little, that kind of a relationship. These are different relationships we have with people. And then there's the person, like my neighbor across the street, I can borrow a cup of sugar from her or some limes or lemons or an egg, whatever. And she would invite me in if I wanted to come in, but I don't need to come in. But we're very close, but I don't go in her house a lot, right? But then I go to my mom's house or my daughter's house, right? I can unload her dishwasher easily. I know where all her dishes go because I spend enough time there. I can get the kids a snack. I know where the towels are. If she had somebody that needed to take a shower or something, I could go get a towel. I can put the laundry away, right? Because I have that kind of relationship. I'm familiar. Or I have one of my good friends. I could show up at her house, and if I was starving, I could get myself a glass of water without asking her permission, right? So do you see how we have different relationships with different kinds of people? And we get to choose what kind of relationship we have with God too, right? Based on the time and effort we put into it. And with the other people in our lives. Like I get to decide how much of an effort I get with you. Like we do the Science of Getting Rich every year, right? Let's talk about that for a minute. Hold on. Okay. Let's talk about that.
All right.
Really quick. Okay, so with Maya, we learned, I recorded my own version of it. That was a God thing He told me to do. I think I might re-record it because there's a few glitches. See, because it was new.
That's right. If you do it again, it will sound different.
It'll sound better. So it's the Science Getting Rich. What's so funny is I sat down right here and read chapters 14,
4, 7,
11, and 14.
14.
Yeah.
Every day.
Every day. And you,
Well, read them all in one sitting.
In one sitting, yeah.
And we have to listen to them or read them every day
for 90 days
without breaking it.
And if you break it, you have to start over. I think we're on day 85.
Today is day 85.
Yeah. And so what's interesting, we're 5 days away from finishing. And it's our
I want to keep going.
I know, right?
I just want to keep going.
It really helps me have a good mindset. It really does. But what's interesting, when I sat down, because God told me when I started my YouTube channel, you should do your own version of it instead of listening to Mary Morrissey read it, right? I'm like, okay, that's a good idea. But I didn't really think it through at all. All I did was I had John turn some lights on and put a camera on me, and I plopped down. I didn't even have I cannot believe it. This is how, I don't want to say dumb. Okay, green,
Yeah.
ignorant, like unprepared.
Not even
I didn't have
unprepared. How innocent
Innocent,
you were at
innocent.
doing it. Really?
I needed
Yeah.
a bookmark because I couldn't.
Yeah.
One, my eyes are bad, and I couldn't. I just needed. If I just had a bookmark to go down, but now it's recording, and I'm already in chapter. I'm in chapter 7, so I've already done one chapter, and I'm like, holy crap! It would have been so much better. And my mouth's dry. I don't have water anywhere nearby.
Mhm.
I don't have anywhere to. So I'm using my fingers. And anyways, the craziest thing. But what's interesting, and then the sound kind of jumped, and anyway, it all worked out. I did it, and I've been doing it, and it. For me, I like hearing my own voice because my subconscious is really, really hearing it in my own voice. And then you've done it with me 3 years in a row.
Right.
You're the only one, I think. We'll have to check in the group. Three other people. Yeah. Tell me, what does it benefit you? Why do you do it? Because I want to know.
Yeah. So the 4 chapters that we focus on and that we listen to or read every day, chapter 4 is thought, that anything that we want to do, to have, to believe in, whatever, it has to start with a thought. And so then chapter 7 is gratitude, that we can't do anything without being grateful, which we spoke about earlier. And chapter 11 is action, taking action. And, that the main line that always replays in my mind is, with thought, the idea comes to us, but with action, it comes to fruition. We make it happen. And then chapter 14 is the impression of increase and how it's okay, that it's a human instinct. We all want more of many, many things, a bigger home, a better car, whatever, a nicer meal, a higher quality of life, and that it's not narcissistic or selfishness. It's just the desire for abundance. And everyone wants it, no matter where you are in life or financially or whatever. It's just a human need. So how it helps me is that sometimes I'm definitely an empath, and I definitely am an extrovert, and I care very much about other people. I'm very personable. I make conversations pretty much with everyone I meet, whether it's a phone call or in person. I always generally start my interaction with, how's your day going today? Even in the grocery store, wherever, any merchant. And so I'm trying to, put focus on me, and I'm thinking about things that I want in this next chapter of my life. And I have thoughts, so I work on action. I work on my gratitude. It's a book that just speaks to me, and that's very, very relatable for me. And I feel like there are many aspects that I'm practicing, and then there are areas that I'm longing. And sometimes, the action part is the hardest for me.
Up until now,
that's been my hardest, stumbling block, so to speak. So I've got plans, I have ideas, and, I'm putting them together.
Yes, but it is interesting. So Bob Proctor had Mary Morrissey do this as her coach. And he said, you got to listen for 90 days every day to help reset your mindset about abundance.
That's right.
And if you miss a day, you have to start over. And it's interesting because on day 57, she said she realized she skipped a day, so she had to start over. And it's interesting because this has really helped my mind, right? I like the idea of increase. I've read the whole book. The book is out of, you can get it from
several different versions.
Yeah, there's a different version. Yeah, because
Wallace D. Waddles, it was written in 1910. I mean, that was avant-garde thinking. That was really...
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So the advancing man, what I have said in the last chapter applies as well to the professional man and the wage earner as to the man who is engaged in mercantile business. No matter whether you're a physician, a teacher, or clergyman, If you give increase of life to others and make them sensible of the fact, they will be attracted to you and you will get rich. The physician who holds the vision of himself as a great and successful healer and who works towards the complete realization of that vision of faith and purpose as described in former chapters will come into such close touch with the source of life that he will be phenomenally successful. Patients will come to him in throngs, right? Hold on, but this is here. The impression of increase right here. Whether you change your vocation or not, your actions for the present must be to those pertaining, that was the wrong chapter, to those pertaining to the business in which you are now engaged. You can get into business you want by making constructive use of the business you are already established in, by doing your daily work in a certain way. Anyway, it's the key of increase. Everyone wants to have more abundance, more health, more love.
And I think if you had continued a point she makes there that's so poignant for me is that, we don't wait until we're in the situation to, get change. We get change by practicing and behaving how we are now in our current situation. And the example she gives is like a different job. If you want a different job, you don't wait until you get that job to behave that way. You behave, optimally in the job you have, and the new opportunities come to you. And I really believe that, and I live it, and I practice it.
Yes.
And this seems to be a friend in your pocket, a coach of some sort, a daily reminder to not forget, because we all have done programs and we think I'm going to take our notes and have our journals and you file them away, and then you think you retain a lot of it, and I have, but I love that it's a daily reminder, which is what scripture is for me too, and praying, and it just makes you really tap into the why of what you're doing, and every single day, and we all have great intentions. We wake up, some days, has this ever happened to you, you wake up like, I'll go out, this is gonna be a great day. To my husband, and I'm all this excitement, and then things just what I had
one
recently,
after another,
like this wasn't good, this wasn't good, and at the end of the day I'm like, wait a minute, where did that one go that I started? Can I go back to thinking this was a great day because I learned all these lessons, but sometimes when you're in it, it's not so easy. So having a reminder and practice, a habit that is a friend in your pocket.
I love that. Looking at it as a friend in your pocket.
And I really have enjoyed the auditory portion, listening to the recording more than reading it. I feel like when I read something like this, especially because it's so repetitive every single day, I think I would become complacent, or my eyes would track the words, but I know I'd go into the grocery list or the have-tos, or I need to call Rebecca or whatever, right? It'll thank this person, or order that, or check this, or stop, But I feel like when it's auditory, I'm listening to that friendly voice.
Why do we read to kids?
It's soothing, right?
Well, we read to kids because they learn so much by listening to the auditory. It's how they form. Before they can read, they learn from every single word you're saying. And I have found that is applicable to us too. And so I've been reading a book that I'm in. I'm reading every single story in the whole book every day. And at first I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, it seems weird, but I'm practicing my storytelling, thanks to Natalia, and cultivating my voice, but actually reading them out loud is like, I haven't read them yet. So I'm reading them first time with each person, and it's like, wow, I didn't know that. And it's more poignant to me to read it out loud, but for other people to hear them, it read to them, it is comforting, but it also is proven that you learn more.
And my father used to always tell us, you're not learning when you're talking, you're learning when you're listening.
Yeah.
And just to even listen to yourself telling the story, you're learning their story better than if you're reading it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really good conversation about that.
Yeah, right. God gave us two ears and one mouth.
One mouth.
That's what
right.
my family
I know,
used to
I've
say.
heard that
That's
many
good.
times
Yeah.
as well. Yes.
I used to, all my report cards would say Colleen Lowe talks too much. Colleen
much.
Barker talks too much.
Did you get separated from your bestie
Oh,
a lot?
Same.
Elaine and Becky were separating you again.
Right? Is that too funny? But yeah, so and it's interesting because I was interviewing this guy that I felt prompted. I like his posts on Facebook, and he's an investor, but he doesn't really do investing. He teaches dads how to be great dads and fathers and to make money, but not at the sacrifice of your family. And so I just feel like I should have him on. I feel like we were best friends after. He even sent me an email after saying, "Oh my gosh, I feel like I have two new friends, you and John." I just love the conversation. And it's interesting, but he noticed.
And you told him about the book? Or
Well, I didn't. It was sitting like this because a lot of times it was just sitting like this.
Oh.
And he says, "Is that the science of getting rich?" And yeah, he listens to it too all the time.
Yeah,
and so I told him about our challenge. And so it is interesting how God helps us. Like God told me to do that instead of just listening to hers. And I really feel like, and then it didn't go as planned, right? I didn't have the water. I didn't have, like, just a bookmark would have been great to help, but.
That's what I do.
Yeah, because it's just that line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to know where you left off. And like, oh.
Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh. But I did it, right? And then I think eventually I'll re-record it. But the cool thing is that it is nice to have an accountability partner because you and I do it together. And I am grateful for that. And then a few other people do it here and there, but they don't usually finish. One guy, Steve DeDen, finished it with us last night. He's a childhood friend, older brother. And he did it. And I think that it's
you can always start over. You can remind him. You can always start over.
Yeah.
You know?
I'll have to message
There
him.
really is no quitting if you just keep going.
Yeah, you just start over. And
I've had to. I think my very first challenge, and I was up to, oh gosh, I don't even remember how far I was. I was pretty far along, and I thought, are you kidding? Like I was angry at myself, and then I thought, well, you'll have that much more reinforcement,
Yeah, that's good. So far, I should knock on.
You've done them all the first time.
Yes,
from the
but
beginning.
life gets
Great.
you. But,
it does. It does.
That's why I try to do it in the morning. But today I haven't done it because we were going to do it. But I don't know if we'll
and
be able to do it
sometimes
today.
working nights I get mixed up too, So I my habit is I wake up, I put my earbuds in, and I listen to it as I'm making my bed, getting my coffee, doing things that don't really require engagement or super hard concentration. I wouldn't necessarily balance my checkbook or do my billing while I'm listening because then my mind would wander. But I do simple tasks.
Yeah, me too.
I
go for a walk or make my smoothie.
Yes.
Or
if I'm walking alone, if I'm walking with a friend, then no, because I want to talk. We want to get into conversation. And I find it's pretty. It just becomes a habit, and it sets the tone for the day too. And it reminds me, to always be grateful, especially if we're having a cranky pants day or something kind of not going our way.
Well, and it's true because I didn't think about. Well, sometimes I'm so surprised at how much I learned from it. Like it's like, oh, I forgot. We're wired for increase. Like we want to be. We're like God put a desire for us to improve and increase, and so when we understand that and we want to help let other people know that when they associate with us, we're a growth-oriented person, and they want to be around us because we're growth-oriented, trying to do better every day.
And we're also inclusive.
Yeah.
It's not, I want it for me, but not for you. I want it for me and I want it for you.
But it's also to increase getting your message out as well.
Yes.
Like monetary gain just to get more and more and more is okay, but it also allows people to have a better reach and help more people.
Yes, and I think that what you want for yourself, you want for others, and that's an important tenet of it. And then also, I feel like God would like all of us to be as successful as possible as we keep an eye single to Him also, but also then we can not just wish we could help people, but then we have the resources, not just the financial resources, but maybe the mental bandwidth or the experience or the connections and the who, like, oh, you need this. I know someone who does that. Let me connect you with them, right? And I love connecting people together to help them, get, solve their problems, right? And so, I feel like God wants us to be resourceful and a resource to others. And not just say, oh, I wish I could help you, but I can't. Like being able to help, which is nice, right? What else was I going to say? I think we're almost done. I wanted to ask you one more thing, and I think that is, when's the time that you saw yourself being brave in your life? I'll let you guys each go.
Oh boy, I've been brave many, many times. Well, one was taking that flight, deciding to take flying lessons. I would say the past 24 years I've been extremely brave raising Rebecca, my daughter with Down syndrome. When it was, I did not know that I was having a baby with Down syndrome, and being an obstetrical nurse, as soon as she delivered and was put on my stomach, I diagnosed her, and it was, a pretty depressing day, and it was a shock, and it was very scary and bewildering, like, how come I didn't know this? But of course, you come to terms with it. But I have to say that, acceptance goes far beyond the delivery room, and it's not just realizing, okay, now I have a daughter with an extra chromosome and she's going to have a different life. It's constantly different. And even now at age 24, even though she is very high functioning, she still has a developmental and an intellectual delay, and it's, it affects relationships, friendships, how she makes connections, her understanding. And so I feel that Rebecca really taught me how to be brave, and just going to bat for her from the beginning because I wanted to. I insisted that she went to public school, and I remember she was 4 years old, and I went to the principal. I called the school. I said, I have a daughter with Down syndrome. She's going to be coming. I'd like to make an appointment with the principal and the school psychologist. And we all met, and he was like, oh, those kids will go over to Division, which is the name of another elementary school. I said, no, I want Rebecca to go to her neighborhood school with her brother. Well, siblings can go as well. And I said, no, they'll be at their neighborhood school with their neighborhood friends and riding the neighborhood bus and all of this. So that's kind of how it started, and it just went on from there. I had her in brownies, and, she went to soccer with her brother and swimming, and, she took skiing lessons. And, I just thought, well, she's a young girl first, and she just happens to have Down syndrome, like you have blonde hair and you're a brunette and I wear glasses or whatever, that. And it was interesting because it really hit me when Rebecca was a baby and people would say, what's it like to have a baby, a child with special needs? I also have Michael, who's only 12 and a half months younger. So I had these two babies, and, very, very quickly they caught up. And then, of course, Michael passed her in developmental milestones and whatnot. But there was a period where I really felt like I had twins, and I was always in overwhelm. And people would say, what's it like to have a child with special needs? And at first it's like, rude. You don't know me. Don't ask me that question. And then if they don't ask, it's kind of like, can you see I'm in a different situation? Where's the understanding and the support? Notice, speak up. So there was this weird dance, of ask, don't ask. And then I kind of got tired of it. And so I remember one time I was talking all about Michael without identifying him, and talking about, colic and not napping and difficulty and the personality, and how, dad was the rescuer and mom wasn't making connections and everything. I said, and then I have Rebecca, and it really was, as I was saying that, it really was speaking to myself and understanding we all have special needs. We all have special needs.
Mm-hmm.
So just being strong, and
I just love listening to this story. It tugs at my heart because we have a lot in common.
We sure do.
We have kids, and family means a lot to us. I had a child that was born with a cleft lip and palate, and I remember when it's not the same, but it is something out of the ordinary, or what you say, not normal, which is
outcome,
a
right?
Great description. But I remember standing in front of the hospital window and telling my family about this, they not knowing what they're going to look at. So just explaining that you need to know he's going to be okay, and if you can't look at him to see him, just if you're gonna cry, please leave. That's all I just said, because it is startling. And people did see him as I was walking down the street and stare, and my sister would say, how can you stand that? I'm like, they don't know. They don't really understand. So that it really helps you to understand that we all have issues, and that he was beautiful just as he was born, so was Rebecca, and it just looks different. And that's what I've learned through this, and standing there doing that, and my dad being so proud of me standing strong. He's always described that I was a mother bear, like saying, no, this is going to be okay. Stay with me on this journey, that it's going to be okay. And we did not treat him as he was less than. We treated him that he was part of us and accepted. Mm-hmm. And that started right when he was born, and that and it, and that was a long journey. You've had a long journey with your son, so we're not going to get out of any of that in this life, but he has showed me, as your daughter has, my son, the bravery of what he's accomplished and overcome. And anytime I have something, a surgery or something, or medical, he's like, I ask him, how did you do it at this point? So, it's very special to have that. And actually that's what I'm going to speak on that coming up. So
the lessons learned.
Mm-hmm. It's quite
for self-care that come from our children. Right?
Well, and it now for me, it brings back the fact that it doesn't matter that he didn't look a certain way when he was born. He was beautiful. And we are beautiful as we get older, no matter what we look like. Even if we have wrinkles or whatever it is, can we really see that?
Someone asked me, I call everyone gorgeous. I say hello, gorgeous, to everyone.
She does.
And
I know.
And it's interesting that this old lady said to me at the temple, because I work in the temple on Tuesday nights up down in Newport Beach. And so we help facilitate the patron experience at the temple. And this old lady comes every week, and I won't say her name, that's fine. But anyway, she said, I wish you'd quit calling me beautiful. And I said, can I share why I call everyone beautiful? She goes, I used to be beautiful. Mm-hmm. And she goes, but I'm not beautiful anymore. And this can make me cry. I said, and she's so sweet. And now everyone knows I call everyone beautiful there. They call me, hey, gorgeous. And even John Zebarth, he knows. He calls me, hey, gorgeous. Anyway, so I explained to her, I said, if Jesus Christ and God were here in this moment, and you're made in their image, how do they see you? She thought about it for a while. She goes, oh, I get it. She goes, you can call me gorgeous.
We don't need to argue with God.
Right? God made us in his image. And so we need to remember that when we look in the mirror, we're looking at God's image in our face. And that we are all beautiful children of God. And another older lady that I've known for a long time that lives here locally, and I go to church with her. And I called her gorgeous, and I explained it to her, and she called me like 2 days later, and she says, I had to really think about what you said, and it really made an impact on me because I had not thought about it. I had just thought about skin deep beauty, and and then I have all these wrinkles, and she has all this stuff going on in her life, and she has Parkinson's, and just all this stuff going on. And I said, and you're still gorgeous. And so I think that when we start looking at the things that are most important, right? And when we connect, like you said earlier, that if everyone was kind, right? If we could all just be kinder to each other, and we only have control over ourselves and our own energy. 100%. And so instead of reacting, and we can act, I'm really getting better at somebody did something really hideous to me in a public setting in front of people I know. And it's just a few weeks ago. And it's interesting that nobody stood up for me or said anything. And it's interesting to see, like, they're not really, none of those people are my friends. I love them and God loves them, right? But what it made me realize is, and then later, last week at church, somebody said that there was this awkward thing that happened, and that they've been thinking about it ever since, and about how wonderful I am. And she said that she didn't think those people really meant what they said. And I said, oh, but they did. And it's interesting. So she thought about it and she talked to me, but nobody spoke up in the moment, right? And that's okay. I'm on my own journey. But I love the fact that two things that I really noticed, that old Colleen, like I used to be really fiery. I'm still really fiery, but I would have been very
reactionary.
And in the moment. And I'm not even, and then I got to a place where I'm not even like that. I would like more of a delayed thing, but then I would be irritated and later about it and ruminate on it. And it's interesting that I'm at a point in my life, not that I'm perfect, but I noticed that I just sent them love. And I just was like, that's their opinion, and not everyone has to like
Absolutely.
me.
Yeah, and it's okay.
Not everyone I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and I'm good with God, and
How about I'm good with myself?
And I'm
It's
good
not
with
gonna
myself.
Bring me down.
yeah, and
It's not.
I send them love. That was the thing that really got me. And it's interesting that the one person recognized it and came back later and said, "Oh, I think I, said something that wasn't kosher or whatever." Anyway, and I accept their apology and I do take it. And I actually do believe that person sincerely just was nervous or just didn't come out right. I've had lots of blunders in my life, right? But I just think to myself, how beautiful that now I'm in a space that my energy is my responsibility.
My phone, sorry.
Oh, one of us didn't turn our phone off like we asked. Look at that. Oh, you
My
did.
alarm.
Oh, it's her alarm. That's smart. Hopefully it's an alarm telling
That
you
means
you're gorgeous.
For my
Yeah.
reservation tomorrow to get.
Oh, do you need to check in?
I do.
Okay,
In
well,
5, I did it in advance.
Oh,
We're good.
then we'll wrap it up.
We're
Yeah, we're
done.
good.
We
Yeah.
covered a lot.
10 minutes.
We covered a lot of ground. I just wanted to say thank you for coming on the show, you guys. And
Oh, thank
sharing.
you for having us, Colleen.
Don't you feel like we
You're
covered a
very
lot?
special. Yes.
Yeah, that's why I like to just do this on front of the camera.
Unscripted, just,
Unscripted.
yeah.
Just talking.
Amazing.
Right? Anyway, you guys were all born to be brave if you're watching this. If you want to connect with these two gorgeous ladies, how can people best find you? How can the people find you?
Ageless Beauty Lifestyle on Facebook. But I can give you the link.
Okay, perfect. We'll put it in the show notes. But on Instagram and Facebook, it's Ageless
Yes.
Beauty's Lifestyle, right?
Uh-huh.
And then where can people
And
find
I'm
you?
just Elaine Ireland.
Yeah,
Not just. I am.
No, she
Elaine
is.
Ireland. I'm
Beautiful.
the Elaine
Mhm.
Ireland with a Y. Elaine with a Y. Ireland like the country. on
Anyway,
Facebook.
thank you for coming on today. And remember, you're born to be brave. Also, like and subscribe to the show and share it with other people. And what else I can tell you? The last thing is why should people watch this episode?
So that in case they're feeling small about something, to learn to just go for it and push through and jump the hurdle, and you can't get to the other side without taking the first step. That's all it requires is action.
Mm-hmm. How about you, gorgeous? Why do you think they should watch it?
To know that love is the answer, kindness is the answer, and being brave is the path.
Yeah, being brave is the path. That's
It
so
is.
good, right?
It is.
Okay, thanks, gorgeous friends.
Thank you, Colleen.